old professor must have realized something, because at the end of the interview he asked me, "And what do you really want to do?"
Yes, right.
And that was to me a big insight. I said, and immediately the universe was telling me something through him.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then people started to ask me questions occasionally, or telling me of their problems, and then I started to say something, and then I gradually, and even then I didn't realize yet that was what I meant to do. Some more time elapsed until finally I realized, I meant to do what I'm now doing already.
Yes, right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So this is not exactly what you're saying, but sort of in an everyday interpretation of that, it's doing what the heart loves.
Yes.
Doing what comes naturally, in a way.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. When I first started teaching, I think I wrote about this a little bit in Women, Food, and God. I actually had thought I was going to go back to medical school, or not go back, but I had graduated, and then I didn't want to get any graduate degrees, but then I didn't know what to do, and I thought, okay, I need to be a doctor. And I hated chemistry and physics. I could not understand anything about that, but I still thought I needed to be a doctor, and I just kept on gaining more weight, and this is before the opening that I had. And then when I did finally quit and have that opening of understanding, there's another way to deal with food, I thought, I want to talk to people about this. And I didn't have a job, I didn't have any money, I was living as a nanny in a friend's house in their basement taking care of their 2-year-old, and I was still quite overweight. I weighed about 60 or 70 pounds more than I weigh now. But I still knew that I had found something, or something had found me. And I wanted to let people know about it. So I decided to put an ad in the paper. Compulsive eating support group. Anybody can join, $1 a night. And many people wanted to come, and my friend said I could go to their house and have it. And I decided to spruce myself up by getting a permanent in my hair, because I used to say my hair was the only thin thing about me. And so I decided I was going to get it to be really, really curly. And it was one of those air dry permanents that I had to sleep in the rollers overnight. When I went the next day to get the rollers taken out, which was the night of the first group, there was a big sign on the door from the beauty salon saying, had to get an emergency operation. Do not take rollers out of your hair till tomorrow. So I had to start my very first group, much fatter than I am now, really overweight, wearing a summer dress in the middle of December because I didn't have any clothes that fit me. And I asked everybody to meet me in front of a liquor store because otherwise they couldn't find where I was living. And there I was with rollers in my hair in front of a liquor store, waving to everybody saying, "Hi, I'm going to help you break free from compulsive eating." And the people who didn't run screaming from the parking lot, actually, they and I stayed together for a couple of years. So, but that happened also organically. A little less organically than what you're talking about, but nonetheless, from not knowing what was going to happen, just doing what I knew to do.
Yes.
And what I loved.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good pointer for many people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, addiction, how would you put it in a few words? The cause of any kind of addiction, there's a common cause. I could put in my own words how I see it, but maybe I'd like to hear from you whatever the addiction is, addictive behavior, compulsive behavior, what is the basic cause of it, and how do you go beyond it?
Yeah. And then I'd like to hear what you think, too.
Okay.
All right? Well, I think obsession and addiction, and I don't usually use big words like that because I think labels scare people off, and they then label themselves and get scared of the label.
Yes.
So I don't usually use those words.
Okay.
But I do use obsession easier than I use addiction. And what I experience directly about it and see in my students as well is that it's a way of what I call changing the channel of your mind when you don't like what's barreling across.
Yes.
And also it stems from a conviction that I can't be with what's here right now. Yes. So I have to change it, alter it, fix it. If I let myself feel it, I would, and then you can fill in the blank, I wouldn't be able to tolerate the discomfort. I'd be so bored, as you were talking about at the beginning, of just being still. What's that like? And unless you're familiar with stillness a little bit, then you get bored or anxious or agitated or even panicked. And you don't know that, okay, well, even what's that like? So I think there's a nub of deficiency that many of us feel based on our past, and we don't realize that those are part of the conditioned behaviors and beliefs we have from our past. And when we don't realize we are utterly identified with them, utterly, they feel intolerable to us. And so we reach for something out there, food, to change it.
Or not to feel it.
Or not to feel it.
Yeah.
To either help us feel more alive, because in the moment that you put food into your mouth, just that first moment, there's a and your attention goes off wherever it was into that, off the ranting mind into, oh, this tastes so good. Yeah. And so momentarily, there's a quelling or a ceasing of that which is causing you so much discomfort, or which you believe is causing you so much discomfort.
I think it was Fritz Perls, the Gestalt therapy person, who said you can't put up with just a little bit of suffering. That's all it is, because you also mentioned in your book, often it starts when you're a child, and a child needs to do that. Needs to shut out of awareness certain sufferings. But what for a child would be huge suffering, for an adult is a relatively small amount of suffering.
Yes.
But the pattern of not wanting or believing, I can't feel this, I can't allow myself to feel this, I mustn't look at this, is the pattern that goes back to childhood. Yes. It no longer applies to the adult.
Right.
For a child, it actually makes sense to do that. It works perfectly. For the adult, it's dysfunctional behavior.
Yes.
And once the adult realizes it's not that bad, I can actually begin to allow whatever I feel, allow myself to feel that, and bring awareness to it. That's the step beyond.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Right. So it's that understanding that we often see pain or believe pain or think we even experience pain the way we used to as a child when we had no choices but to block it out, to numb ourselves to it, to shut down and defend against it. And as an adult, you have choices, and one of the choices is to be interested and curious about what's going on, because the second, and you said this as we were talking about awareness and compulsion cannot exist in the same space.
Yes.
So the second you become interested in what's happening here, there's an awareness there that there's you and that thing you're calling you, my pain, and you can see that the awareness is bigger than what you're calling or believing is intolerable. And so intolerable that you believe you have to eat to make it go away. Yes.
And the awareness is bigger, not only bigger than that, the awareness is bigger than your entire sense of self that was mind-based, the sense of who you are, that is based on ideas in your head, things you're telling yourself about yourself, things, beliefs, they're all thoughts. And so there's a vastness there, whether we can say it's inside you or it's also transcendent.
Yes.
It's experienced perhaps at first as a vastness within you, but it's a transcendent vastness that goes far beyond anything. There's a lovely thing, a term that theologians use, but it's actually quite profound, that God is immanent and transcendent. Yeah. Immanent means God dwells within you as you, and God is transcendent. God is that which is totally unknowable, that it's totally beyond anything in the world of form. So it's Atman and Brahman,
yes.
the God within and the transcending, and they are really one. And that's what it is, and that's why this is called Women, Food and God, because ultimately what it leads to is to God realization, although I don't often use that term.
Neither do I, even though the title of my book has that in it. Yes, yeah. Uh-huh.
And the subtitle of the book is An Unexpected Path to Almost Everything. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I didn't want to put to everything. But I really believe it's an unexpected path to everything. Because, Zen teacher Sherry Huber says that the way we do anything is the way we do everything. Uh-huh. And so, if you look at the way you eat, or look at how you conduct your relationships, or how pretty much you do anything, inherent in how you eat are your beliefs about, I can't ever get enough, so I'm going to overeat. Or what I want really is impossible, so I think I'll just eat these mashed potatoes instead. What I really want, or I'm a failure, and so I might as well.
Another one, a friend of mine who is overweight told me one that he often has, he lives in England. He says, I've had a rough day, I deserve a treat.
Yes, that's right. There's that, going around and around. And then, what I would say to him is, and so what happens when you get that treat? So you eat that treat, does it actually make everything better? Because often what happens let's say with food, you eat it and then you realize, I thought I was going to make my suffering go away, but instead what I've just done is double it. Because now there's still what I had a rough day about, because it doesn't go away when you eat a piece of chocolate cake. Mm-hmm. And then there's how your mind gets engaged about, now I just ate that piece of chocolate cake, and now what am I going to do? And
I might as well eat another. No,
that's right.
Doesn't matter anymore.
That's right. That's right. It's true. I used to say to myself, I'm going to start a diet on Monday, and I had one of those digital clocks, and it would be 11:30, 11:35, 11:56, and I would just keep on eating really, really fast, because at 12 o'clock, that's when I started started the diet. So I'll eat it all now because then tomorrow I'm going to diet. So it's sort of like, yeah, I ate it, I might as well eat two. Yeah.
Wonderful. And related to